70% of the internet flows through one Virginia county. That's the claim anyway. You've heard the internet lives in the cloud. The cloud has a street address. 40 minutes west of Washington, D.C., past the airport, there's a stretch of old farmland where the buildings have no windows, the power lines run like rivers, and the hum never stops. This is Loudoun County, Data Center Alley, and by that famous statistic, most of everything you do online passes through it. Here's what should bother you about that. Nobody decided it. No plan, no law, no summit ever said, put the internet here. So how does the most important place on the internet happen by accident? By the end of this video, you'll know how a handshake among a few network engineers in 1992 quietly fixed the internet's home address for the next 40 years. You'll find out whether that 70% statistic survives contact with its own sources, because I went looking for where it comes from, and the trail ends somewhere embarrassing. And you'll see what happened, twice, on the mornings this county stumbled and half your app stopped working at once. Because this is a story about the strongest force in infrastructure, not engineering, not money. Gravity. First, the scale, because it's genuinely hard to believe. Loudoun County, Virginia, horse farms, cul-de-sacs, and the largest concentration of data centers on planet Earth, tens of millions of square feet of them, more than the next several markets combined, drawing more power than some small countries, and paying so much tax that they fund a huge slice of the county's budget. Schools, roads, fire trucks, partly built to the machines. Amazon's oldest and largest cloud region lives here. So do the unmarked buildings of nearly everyone else. And everywhere this place is written about, one statistic follows. 70% of the world's internet traffic passes through here. Officials repeat it, news anchors repeat it, it's on marketing brochures and in congressional district talking points. It is the crown jewel fact of the American internet. Therefore, I did what this channel does. I asked, says who? And the answer is the first crack in this whole story. Chase the 70% backward. The news story cites an older news story. The older story cites a magazine feature. The feature cites the county, specifically the county's own economic development messaging, the office whose job is to attract data centers. Ask measurement experts whether share of world internet traffic through one county is even a computable number, and they'll tell you, not really, nobody meters the whole internet. The most famous fact about the internet's geography appears to be marketing. But, and this is the part that makes it interesting, the marketing is pointing at something real. The concentration is not a myth. You can see it from the air. So if the number is folklore, the phenomenon still demands an explanation. Why here? It's 1992, and the suburbs outside Washington, D.C. The internet is mid-metamorphosis, a government research network becoming a commercial one, and the young commercial providers have a problem so basic it sounds silly, their networks need to touch. A customer on one ISP emailing a customer on another needs the two companies to exchange traffic somewhere, physically, cable to cable. Therefore, a company called MFS sets up a neutral meeting point in the Tysons Corner area, a place where any network can plug in and swap traffic with all the others. They call it MAE-East. The legend, repeated for 30 years, says the whole thing ran out of an underground parking garage. The documented reality is more boring. Ordinary commercial space, racks in a room. But the legend survives because it captures the truth that matters. The internet's crossroads was cited the way you'd pick a lunch spot, convenient for the people who happened to be nearby. And who was nearby? The early commercial internet itself, UUNet down the road in Falls Church, PSINet, NCI, the government network that started it all. Washington wasn't chosen, it was simply where the industry already stood when the music started. Therefore, 1994, the National Science Foundation, formally privatizing the internet's backbone, designates 4 official interconnection points for the whole country. One of them is MAE-East. What began as a convenience now has a federal crown. By the mid-90s, by some accounts, as much as half of the internet's traffic touches this one neighborhood. Then, compress the build-out to one breath. AOL plants its headquarters by Dulles Airport. The fiber follows the exchange. Equinix opens a giant carrier hotel in Ashburn at the decade's end. The dot-coms rent space near the fiber. Amazon quietly makes Northern Virginia the first home of its cloud, and every one of those arrivals makes the next one more obvious. But notice, I still haven't given you a reason. Fiber, tax breaks, cheap land. Plenty of places had those. The real answer is a law of physics wearing a business suit. Here it is. On a network, distance is money. Every mile adds delay, every intermediary adds cost, so the cheapest, fastest place to connect to everyone is wherever everyone already is. Which means the first meaningful meeting point doesn't just get a head start, it gets a gravitational field. Each company that connects makes the place more valuable to the next, which makes it more valuable to the next. Mass attracts mass. MAE-East was barely a decision, a convenience for a dozen networks in 1992. But run gravity forward 30 years and the convenience becomes continental infrastructure. The meeting point becomes the fiber hub becomes the data center capital becomes the default home of the cloud. Nobody ever chose Loudoun County. Everybody chose whoever was already there, which is a different thing, and much harder to undo. And now the 70% gets its verdict, and it's stranger than true or false. The number is unverifiable folklore. But for 20 years, that folklore worked like advertising for gravity itself. Built here, the internet lives here, steering real billions into real concrete, making the legend more true every year it was repeated. A statistic nobody can source helped build the thing it claimed to describe. Myths, it turns out, can be load-bearing too. So the internet's home address was set by convenience and compounded by gravity, which raises the question this county would rather you not ask. What happens when the place everything lives has a bad morning? It's already happened, more than once. Amazon's Northern Virginia region, East 1, is the oldest, largest, and most defaulted. To place in the cloud, when engineers don't choose a region, they get this one. In December 2021, it faltered and took a startling slice of the consumer internet with it. And in October 2025, it happened again. Bigger, one internal fault cascading until apps, games, banks, and smart homes across the planet spent a day throwing errors. The county didn't go dark, but the world got a demonstration of what concentration means. A single county's bad morning is everyone's bad morning. Meanwhile, gravity is straining against physical limits. The power company that feeds Data Center Alley warned in 2022 that its wires couldn't keep up. New data centers would have to wait in line for electricity. Land is running out. Neighbors who bought homes next to farmland now live beside humming. Flood-lit walls and county meetings have turned into pitched battles. The response? Not dispersal. Spillover, the boxes march into the next county, and the next hugging the same fiber. Because that's the trap of agglomeration, everyone can see the concentration risk, and no one can afford to be the first to leave the gravity well. The rational move for each is the fragile move for all. Sound familiar? It's the rack. It's IPv4. It's the same physics, wearing a different costume. The pattern this time is agglomeration lock-in. First compounds into only. Nobody decreased the center accretes, then enforces itself because leaving it costs more than staying, even when staying is dangerous. Once you have this lens, you'll see accidental capitals everywhere. Why is finance in 1 square mile of Manhattan? Why do movies come from one suburb of Los Angeles? Why does most advanced chip-making sit on one island, and half of Europe's cargo pass one Dutch port? Same answer every time, someone convenient became someone permanent, and gravity did the rest. And keep the refinement this episode adds. Watch what legends do to gravity. An unverifiable statistic, repeated by enough serious people, moves real money. The story about the center helps build the center. The modern world isn't just inherited, some of it is narrated into place. So, the cloud has a street address, chosen by nobody, sourced from a lunch spot decision in 1992, and a statistic no one can verify. A single county the internet cannot live without. At least and this is the strange comfort, you can always pour more concrete in Virginia. The next single point of failure, you can't add to so easily. It's a constellation of satellites 12,000 miles up. It's owned and operated by one country's military. Every phone, every power grid, every financial market on Earth quietly runs on it. And the reason you get it for free, the reason it was opened to the world at all, begins with 269 people dying in the night sky over the Sea of Japan. That's next time on Load Bearing History. Consider liking and subscribing for more load-bearing history videos.